Hey, what's up? This is my first music review on YouTube. It's going to be Chris Stapleton's Higher album, and yeah, it's country. It has 14 songs. It's around 54 minutes long. I'm gonna listen to each song with a little time lapse of me listening to it, writing down some notes, and then I'll go over each song after I listen to them, and give a green mark if I liked it and added it to my Spotify, an orange mark if I just appreciated the song and didn't necessarily like it, or no mark if there was just nothing there for me. Um, I have listened to 3 of the songs previously, so those are not blind rankings. Um, it's going to be the 6th through 8th tracks. Think I'm in Love with You, Loving You on My Mind, and White Horse I have listened to recently, or before. And yeah, but let's get into it. Okay, I just finished the first song called What Am I Gonna Do? Not too many notes for this one. I didn't personally like it. It was just kind of seemed a little normal to me. Not that that's bad, but that it didn't really stand out. Especially knowing 2 of these songs, Think I'm in Love with You and Loving You on My Mind. It didn't really stick like those did. And the only notes that I had there was kind of a weak intro to the song, especially being the first song of the album. And the second thing was it just wasn't too catchy. And not that that makes a good song, but it definitely helps when you want to like a song or not. And yeah, so the next song's gonna be called South Dakota, and let's listen to it. Okay, so just finished South Dakota, second song on the album. This one I did like. I give it a green mark. And I had a lot of notes for this one. So the first thing I was gonna say, because it's the most present thing in the song, is that the riff is really good. It's I wouldn't say it's unique, but it's definitely hear me out. It's trustworthy. It's independent, and it doesn't need much else to help it stand out. And I think that's perfect because the way that he's going with this album feels a little bit more like outlaw-y, a little slower. And I think that's perfect because that is exactly what his voice is inclined to do when he sings. And another note I had was that there was a good counter melody in the mid-range. I think it happened around 1 minute in, 2 minutes in. And that counter melody was with a electric guitar, and it just fit really well in there. However, there was a little bit of room for improvement with possibly a keyboard, some sort of keys that could help out in the middle of the song around like 2:30, because there was a little bit of empty space. It was a lot of just repetition with the same riff, and then a little bit of soloing, but it definitely could have been a really, really good song if it had a little bit more in there, with what I would suggest would be a keyboard, maybe like an organ. And then only other stuff is that the drums weren't too overbearing, which is really good in a song like this. And there was great bass, carried the song along, and gave it that kind of feel that you want to know that next verse. Okay, so the next song is called Trust. Okay, so that was Trust. I would say I'd almost rather listen to What Am I Gonna Do, the first song, over this one. I just personally didn't like this. I thought it needs some chord change, maybe some sevenths in there, or something that gives it a little bit more depth. It felt very coworker music, generic retail country store kind of vibe. The drums annoyed the heck out of me. I didn't really understand them. Seemed a little too basic for me. Um, I I get it, but it's almost they were too simple for the rest of the song being simple. So the fact that nothing was really standing out or filling that space interestingly, the drums at least should have been a little bit more lively or had some kind of depth to them as well. Um, the vocals were just, again, basic. Um, mm, Really, the only positive note about this is on the electric guitar in the background, kind of, there was some really good reverb, and I think that could have been brought to the front, maybe on the bridge or something like that. But nonetheless, that did not get a green mark from me. But that electric guitar was really interesting. So the next song is going to be It Takes a Woman. And yeah. Okay, so that was It Takes a Woman. I really didn't have any notes for this, just a couple. I thought this was way more in his vocal capacity. Like, I thought that he put the potential of his voice like way more out there than some of these other songs. Um, it was I mean, for me, it was just a little too slow, and the melody didn't really stick with me. But nonetheless, I gave it an orange mark. So it is an appreciated song for sure. I appreciate the vocals and the tempo, but I just didn't really like it. So it wasn't added. But I think that that kind of vocal range and focus on his vocals, because that is, I mean, his star of the show, is really necessary in his songs. And if you don't have that, then you need something just kind of like the songs before, like Trust. It's like, if you don't have that, what do you have? And you have to provide that with something. So this one provided the vocals, which is why it's appreciated for sure. And the last one, Trust, like, there was nothing really there that made it stand out even a little bit. But yeah, that was still a good song, just didn't get added. But let's move on to the next one, which is Think I'm in Love with You. Previously listened, but I will still write some notes about it. Totally messed up. The next one is actually called The Fire, and then I will be Thinking in Love with You. But this is The Fire, 5th song. That was a really good song, The Fire. I really liked that. That was definitely an instant like for me. I really like that. That was different than the previous songs for sure. First off, the drums were perfect. That's exactly what I was talking about. Is this did have great vocals. I will say that this vocal melody was amazing and fit perfectly. But even what took the vocal melody being great and kind of enhanced it and took it to that different level where then it becomes a more likable song and not just an appreciated song is the drums, in my opinion. And it's a little bit off genre, like a little offbeat kind of feel to it, because they're a little bit more like bongos almost, or some sort of almost Afro influence to the drums, and I think that's what actually makes it great, is because they're not, again, overbearing, which if they're overbearing, then it changes almost the genre that you're listening to. But instead, they're more complementary. And I think finding that way to complement a country song, a slow country song with an Afro infusion of drums is impressive for sure. The guitar melody was great. It carried well in the song. There was an interesting cymbal sound, like a tss, when he goes and says ooh, and he holds out like the ooh. That's was perfect because that's what makes the drums interesting. Well, it's part of what makes the drums interesting. I think it was perfect for the placement of it. It wasn't, again, overbearing, but it was complimentary. And the keyboard is exactly what my ears were looking for, and it delivered. I know I mentioned a possible keyboard on the second song, and I would say that that is kind of what I was thinking of. And so that was perfect because that's exactly kind of what these songs need sometimes. And yeah, that was just right. And then, yeah, and then the drums were just, again, really good. They carried the melody well. They didn't take away from it, but they also didn't add a different feel to it, and kept the album on kind of on par for where it's been at. So yeah, that was a good song. Next one up is Think I'm in Love with You. It'll be the 6th song of the album. That was really good. That was really good. Think I'm in Love with You. It's a really good song. I personally think the bass is the forefront of the first half of the song. And I'll talk about where that half comes in, ironically. But I think the bass is the forefront of the front half. The organ in the back, organ, keyboard, whatever you want to put it as, is just what his voice needs. So I'm putting a lot of emphasis on the keys in these songs, because keys as in piano keys, because I think that's what is kind of like that hidden gem for his songs. And you don't really see a lot of that in country, and I think that's what kind of puts him apart. Not only the keys, but obviously his voice. But if you were to take away his voice and you just looked at the instrumentation of the song, I would say that the keyboard and I guess in this case for this song would be the strings. But that keyboard is really important and kind of gives that unique feel of a Chris Stapleton song. So there was something that was really interesting. So at the minute 51 mark, there was an exact split in the song. So it was minute 51 to go. And there was that kind of break. And that was pretty cool to see because it was perfectly timed. And it was perfectly in the middle of the song to have a transition. And you think it's going to go to maybe more different lyrics or something, but instead it's back to that same chorus. And I think that was great because then with it transitioning back to the same chorus, it was able to then introduce the new instruments. So as I was saying, the bass is the forefront of the first half, but it then transitions where the strings come in, and then those are the focus for the second half. And so that's what I thought was really interesting about that song and makes it very unique, very likable, and very recognizable. Yeah, that was a good song. Next up is Loving You on My Mind. It will be the 7th song of the album. before this, I got a little pistachios, so that's what I was eating. But yeah, Loving You on My Mind. To my surprise, it says it only has 63 million plays versus the first song having 53 million plays, which I find absolutely ridiculous because the first song is nowhere near as good as this song is, in my opinion. Of course, this is all in my opinion. However, I mean, I can't even fathom how this song, I think, went popular on TikTok, and yet not even 5 times less the amount of plays than Think I'm in Love with You, which is okay, that makes sense. But it barely surpasses What Am I Gonna Do, the first song. It's just mind boggling. But, anyways, let's get into the notes. First thing I noticed, wrote down about, was that the keyboard coming in and out is really nice. If you listen closely or just pay attention to it, it kind of, I wouldn't say fades in and out, but it just kind of goes in and out pretty slowly. I'd say probably every 8 bars. But that paired with the guitar, that specific sound that they used, with its depth, and it kind of has a deep and like comfortable sound to it, remind me a lot of John Mayer and that neo soul kind of feel. And there was something about the combination of the two, the keyboard and that guitar, that kind of gave it that neo soul feel for sure, which I really like paired with Chris's voice. I think that's a really good combination. Again, I'll reiterate, that keyboard just sounds good in his songs, especially with the more simple drums that he uses. It just kind of gives that depth that's kind of necessary for sure. But also, I wrote that because the neo soul kind of vibe is there has to be something that kind of grounds it back to what he is singing for in the country genre. And so the way I think that he did that well was through the key and through the chords that he used, as well as just kind of that little guitar riff, that da-na-na-na-na. That was not it, but that kind of riff at the top definitely kept it in check, I would say. The voices, the chorus voices were great in the background. I think it was probably a woman. Didn't sound like guys doing that chorus, but that was nice because that added more depth. But yeah, I'd say it's a pretty comfortable song, and it had a cool little soul vibe to it, which I think is really unique to this genre. Not unique, but it's not seen a lot, and I think that's what makes this pretty memorable. So the next song is gonna be White Horse. Would be the 8th song of the album. That was pretty good. White Horse was pretty good. I believe it's the most played on the album. Very strong intro. Just a strong song, honestly. Definitely was intended to be like that, and definitely filled the intention well. Really good vocal melody. Kind of outlaw vibes. I say outlaw not with the lyrics that he's singing, but I think just more the vibe of this song is just more outlawish. It's catchy for sure. I see why it's a popular song. 371 million plays. I like the drums. I think the drums were well executed. They were really big, very present, but that fit well for sure. And yeah, there was a beat switch at 250, and then it broke off into kind of a, I guess you could call it a bridge, at 305-ish. That was good. But yeah, overall, a good song. I liked it. Gave it the green mark. Yeah, no real criticisms there. That was hired by Chris, and that was really good. That was unexpected, honestly. I need to stop looking at the plays on the amount of plays on these songs because super inaccurate to, I guess, what I'm thinking about them. Because I mean, I looked at this and it was only 18 million, and that's almost one of my favorite songs off the album. I will say it had a pretty regular start to it. Like, it didn't catch my eye until about a minute in. I'm sure you could probably see that on the video, but so meh. Intro was alright. But I almost like that because you weren't expecting it, and then he hits you with these vocals. And that was what I wrote a lot of these notes about, was his vocals. Specifically, he had a super high note at 3:30, and that was just perfect. That was perfect. I would have liked a longer guitar solo. Like, it could have been better. Could have been maybe a little bit faster with a little bit more range. But I think the real focus of the song for this one was the vocals, 100%. It was a little bit more like slow and ambient, which is a good vibe for sure. And I can see why the intro is as mellow as it was. I don't think the song was doing too much, but it was impressive for sure. His vocals are just great on this. Yeah, it's a good song. Next one is called The Bottom, and it is the 10th song of the album. That was The Bottom. No. It started strong, and it fell quick. I just think it needs better execution on every level. It was not where it was supposed to be. I think the lyrics were deep, and then sung in a way as if they weren't deep, and that like confused me a little bit. I feel like if you're gonna use that tempo and that feel for the song, then it needs to have maybe some lighter lyrics or something. Because he sung it lightly. He sung it as if he was just singing about, you know, anything else. But instead, from what I gathered, it was a lot of like addiction and all that stuff. And so it just didn't really make sense. And yeah, and I think the bass could have, there are many things that could have saved the song, but I think the bass could have saved the song for sure. But instead it was just the da 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 da, and it just kind of just reminded me of like retail coworker music. But nonetheless, the melody was lackluster, lacked interest, sounded like they were just, you know, did the first thing they could do on the guitar and called it a day. Definitely could have been more interesting. And there is the room for the improvement. Like, it's been there. It was in the songs before, so there's no reason for that one to be even on the album, really. That just was not my favorite. So that will be a no from me. No orange mark, no green mark. But yeah, let's move on to the next one, called The Day I Die, and it'll be the 11th song on the album. That was pretty boring. Yeah. don't know. I thought the bridge was gonna save it, and it didn't at all. And it was kind of boring, like the outro of the song, which was really boring. I was gonna give it an orange mark and mark it as appreciated, but I don't know. It doesn't stand out in any way. It also isn't bad. It's not a bad song. None of these are bad songs. But this is specifically the most mid thing he could have put out. Which is kind of disappointing. There's two back-to-back songs that are just kind of meh. After 5 really good songs. So we'll see. This next one's called Crosswind. It'll be the 12th song on the album out of 14. I don't know. Crosswind. It kind of took a turn, I guess, for the better. It had, the very start had like Dire Straits vibes, his vocals included. But then it just kind of got basic. And it needed more substance for sure. Although I will say that the steel guitar kind of saved it a little bit near the end. I gave it an orange mark. I appreciate the steel guitar. I also appreciate the pace of it. But there wasn't enough substance to make it a green mark. But nonetheless, the next one is Weight of Your World, and it is the second to last song off the album. I had 2 notes, yuck chords and poke my eyeballs out. That made me want to poke my eyeballs out, but more so the chords just made me want to jump out this window. It was just kind of cheesy, corny. I appreciate it though. I give it an orange mark because I think for the vibe that it was going, that kind of like, you know, romance, whatever, it did well, but that is not my style at all. At least to listen to. Orange mark. But yeah, I don't know. So the next one is the last one, Mountains of My Mind, be 14th song of the album. That was really good. I was not expecting to like that song, I'm not gonna lie, but it was really good. The guitar was good. It was like good enough for the whole song. It didn't change at all. Like it didn't, there was no big break or anything. There was no drums, which was actually really good. The only drum I would possibly add in there would be like a drum brush, like they use in jazz. But not even that was really necessary. It's a great ending song for the album. I like that a lot. I like that it was meaningful. It was soft, it was slow, it was beautiful. It was a good song. I'm liking it more and more now. I'm thinking more and more about it. I kind of like wish that he would belt out some strong vocals, but at the same time, like, I think it just kind of fit. I feel like this is a song you could go back on and find meaning for yourself in it. Because it definitely is a meaningful song, and it, the back plush, the pluck that's in the back, it carries emotional weight. And I think that's what, when you go back to the song, you listen to it again, that's what gets your mind going on, you know, what it means to you, maybe. And the lyrics are very kind of introspective. Yeah, that was an unexpectedly good song. But yeah, so that was the 14th song. So yeah, that is my review of Higher by Chris Stapleton. I'm going to listen back to a few of these and then give a rating. And yeah, 1 second. Yeah, I'd give this album a low 7 out of 10. I really liked it. I think it could improve in a few of the songs, maybe adding some instrumentation or putting a little bit more effort into some of those later songs. But overall, most of these songs were either liked or appreciated, with green and orange marks, respectively. Sometimes I kind of draw out kind of the feel of the song as the album goes on, and this one seemed to have a very strong middle to it. The 5th to 9th tracks were really good, really strong. So I'd say it has pretty good listenability. A lot of these songs I'd go back to for some of that slower country vibe. But yeah, there were some good soul parts in there. There was some good organ, keyboard, maybe a little bit steel guitar here or there. But overall, pretty good album. I would say a low 7 matches it for sure. Yeah, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. And yeah, I'll put my music board link in my bio, as well as my Spotify.